Good evening, or morning, or afternoon, wherever it is in the world that you're watching this right now. This is Notcast 78. It's Saturday, the 10th of April, 2021. Today, I am going to be talking about U2's 360 tour, which ran between 2009 and 2011, with 111 shows, 7.2 million tickets, 2,500 songs, 2 live albums, 1 live box set, and a whole bunch of other stuff going on in it. So this is the tour that the band did to support the No Line on the Horizon album, which was the most recent U2 episode, which I talked about a couple of weeks ago. And as I've already mentioned, the band look at their live shows as effectively with as much, I think, care and preparation as they do a album, because it's seen by probably more people actually than by U2 albums, and lives in people's memories, and also then goes on to form various live films. Now, I do have a small cat who's in the room at the moment and is now leaving. I don't think he is a U2 fan, but you can't have it all. It wasn't one of the things that I asked when I checked when we were getting a cat, going, is the cat a U2 fan? That's not the type of thing that you can ask a cat. I mean, you can ask a cat, but the cat's going to look at you like, I want biscuits. That type of thing. And cats and dogs and rabbits and things like that, they all have tastes. My rabbit liked action movies. The eldest cat really likes Metallica. I don't understand it, but they just seem to be really happy when Metallica's on in the house. This one I haven't checked. What he does want to do is whatever room you're in, he wants to be in there with you whilst you're doing stuff. Not that you care, because cats don't go to U2 gigs. So to start off with, U2's 360 tour, which originally was preliminarily called and referred to in some press as the Kiss the Future tour, is the only U2 tour that doesn't actually seem to be themed around a big hit single or a big song from the album or the album itself. So all the other tours that the band have done, Elevation, Vertigo, Pop Mart, for example, Zoo TV, all of them had their lineage and their name taken from a song or the album itself. This was the first time that the band uncoupled their touring from the album, which is probably a good idea, because as mentioned in the previous episode, No Line on the Horizon didn't sell that many copies. By some people's standards, it was a relative commercial failure, only selling 1.1 or 1.2 million albums, which is a disgraceful state of affairs, which I hope to achieve at some point with my absolutely dead-on arrival solo career. And I'd like to also point out, I'm very, very glad that I can't play a musical instrument or sing, because I will no doubt have ruined decades of my life trying to be successful. Whereas as soon as I start playing a guitar or singing, I end up sounding like some kind of drunken animal, which is not how I normally sound, by the way, despite what you may think. And so therefore I didn't waste decades of my life trying to succeed in that particular crowded nest of vipers. 360 tour. So as mentioned, it started off in Barcelona on the 30th of June 2009. And it was the first time that U2 had started a tour that wasn't in America or Australia since the early 80s. And then me and my friend Mark, we had a wild and crazy dream is that we should go to see the opening night of the tour, because none of the set list will have been on the internet, none of the video will have been on the internet. We will be experiencing the show live in front of our very eyes for the very first time, as it is meant to be intended, with all the wow factor, without having to have seen a representation of the stage on a small screen or from crappy YouTube footage, because YouTube footage wasn't great then, or on a bootleg CD or something. We were able to just see it presented by the band playing live in front of our very own eyes and ears. So that was where the U2 360 tour came from. And the other concept that came behind it was the staging, which was very, very innovative. And probably the best thing to do is to show you an example of what the stage looked like. This is the stage that there was for the tour. It was referred to by many people as the Claw. I don't think that's what the band wanted to call it, but effectively what it allowed them to do was to sell 360 degrees of the seats all around the stage, with the stage in the middle of the stadium, which means that you instantly added probably 30% capacity to the stadiums. It also meant that your ticket receipts, the number of tickets that you sold per show, and everything else that went with it was better and made more money. And I don't mind people making money. I really don't. It's when they make too much money that's a problem. I have no problem with people making a good living out of things. So that was the stage that we had. And the first time that we saw this, we walked into, I mean, we'd seen some preliminary photographs that had leaked on the internet. For example, there I think are some photographs of the stage being constructed in a test fashion in, I think, Workte in Holland, although it's not pronounced like that because I am British and we can't pronounce correctly Dutch words. So the first time that we saw it was we walked into the Camp Nou stadium at Barcelona, and we were suddenly faced with this enormous stage. It's enormous staging, which was one of the certainly the biggest stage which had ever been constructed for a rock show. And for example, I'll show you a picture of what it looked like during the height of the show. This is, I think, taken from possibly Wembley Stadium in 2009. That's a very, very impressive stage. 164 foot tall, weighs about 200 tons, or it can carry 200 tons of weight from it. I can't recall when. And we're just staggered. You're looking at this big, massive, audacious bit of architecture. It reminds me very, very much of the work of an artist called Louis Bourgeois, who, if you go way back in the depth of time, did a very, very big spider sculpture, which was outside the Tate, and also actually it was based upon this building here. So for those of you who don't know it, that is the Los Angeles Airport restaurant, which looks very, very similar to the 360 stage indeed. It also actually has more than a passing resemblance to another building, which is this one here, which is a museum of contemporary art in South America. I forget exactly where, but clearly those things are all kind of connected together. So right from the moment that you walked into the stadium, and bearing in mind the whole tour was in stadiums, there was like an impressive, audacious, massive bit of infrastructure which you were looking at that was, a tenth of a mile tall, and probably at least the same degree wide. It's a huge thing there. Actually, no, it's not a tenth of a mile. I'm lying. It's about a 30th of a mile, but still pretty damn impressive. It's a really big building. It's bigger than anything that's in my town, and my town has 50,000 people that live in it, and it has some considerably tall buildings there. But it's just an enormous building, a structure that was deliberately designed and meant to impress. And I think the tour itself was geared around the whole theme of achieving a form of lift-off, a form of elevation, which is something which, Bono has talked about many, many times, is being able to remove all the artificial dividers, all the artificial horizons that exist between the audience and the band, and to somehow bring that space much, much closer. So to make what looks like, 4 Lego figures that are somewhere a quarter of a mile either that way appear much, much bigger and much, much nearer to you. It was just a fantastic show to see Barcelona. What we didn't realise is that the show was going to start at 10 p.m. because the temperature in Barcelona is something like 1,000 degrees, even in the shade. It's hot in the shade, as Kiss said. And so the show finished at about 4:15 midnight. We had some relatively early flights, maybe 11, 12 the next day. So we weren't able to kind of live on the high from that, but it was an amazing experience to see the show and to see all of the constructed and staged parts of it. So the show was divided into 2 parts, and it was divided into probably the first half that goes up to the end of City of Blinding Lights, which was around personal experience, exploration, revelation, and all that type of stuff. And that came through. The first 4 songs of the set were Breathe, No Line on the Horizon, Get on Your Boots, Magnificent, and then moved into Beautiful Day. So those are songs around a personal relationship. Magnificent with I Was Born to Sing for You, I Didn't Have a Choice. Beautiful Day around the concept of revelation and resolution and all that type of stuff, normally followed with I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, and then moving into another portion of the set that was around had The Unforgettable Fire, City of Blinding Lights, Unknown Caller, which was before Unforgettable Fire, and then moving into Vertigo and I Know I'll Go Crazy If I Don't Go Crazy Tonight, which is possibly the longest song title in the world, apart from there's a Flaming Lips one. Because Flaming Lips actually do write the longest song titles ever. But the show had a narrative, and about every 20 minutes, something changed in there. So the first 20 minutes, the first 4 or 5 songs, were about the process of revelation. Really, starting with Breathe, which is about confusion and I'm not going to buy anyone's cockatoo. No Line on the Horizon, which lyrically is very clearly around just dissolving artificial boundaries and not having a line on the horizon where time isn't linear, it's irrelevant. Where all that stuff kind of blows itself out, and then you go into a kind of thing where basically there are no rules. We're in bat country, man, and some weird bats out there. And the tour kind of evolved and the set list evolved over time. But by the time you got to the second part of it, around 20 minutes in, and by the way, this follows the same kind of process which a lot of action movies have, which is that you need to have a kind of like a change of scenery about every 20 minutes into the movie. So I'm going to go through, there's a book here, which you've already noticed, where I'm going to try and show you at least some ideas of how the show would operate. So it would start off with this here, which was effectively the band playing with lights and the screen, and then there's a process of kind of like revelation and bringing out and teasing in extra elements of the presentation. So during City of Blinding Lights, this is what it pretty much looked like, is that you'd have the screen would have concertinaed down, it would have turned into a rampaging beast of lights and sound, and then as the show kind of developed along, they would move other elements to it. So for example, this one here, I forget which venue this is, might be Berlin, I'm not sure, where they have a huge disco ball right at the top, the tower of that, and then they power all the lights into it. It's a fantastically well designed show, from a visual perspective. Really changes the way in which you might want to look at the how a show's presented. So with all that in mind, the second part of the show which goes into I'll Go Crazy If I Don't Go Crazy Tonight, which by the way, when they played it in Barcelona, we didn't know what that song was, because they were using a kind of like a Frankenstein remix version of it that took a section of the song out, changed the tempo, sped it up, moved all the parts around. Fantastic, actually. Probably my favourite moment of the tour is when Vertigo finished and Crazy Tonight kicked off, and the whole thing just turned into this bonkers silly disco. And we were just like, well, we're just going to have a dance around for a bit and see how it goes, before it then moved into Sunday Bloody Sunday, and it moved into the band's more political material. So the last third of the main set was normally Sunday Bloody Sunday, Pride, MLK or Scarlet, Walk On, and then One and Where the Streets Have No Name, which is a pretty staggering kind of lump of songs to all be thrown together. It's all killer, no filler, greatest hits, car chase, helicopter chase, boat chase. It's always a boat, that type of stuff. And moving on from that section, when you had the personal in the first half of the show, the political in the second half of the show, the third part of the show, which was the last encore, normally 3 or 4 songs, normally being Ultraviolet or Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me, With or Without You, and Moment of Surrender, was a kind of very naked, very raw, very stripped back, kind of very vulnerable presentation of the band. And I think one thing that's always been kind of overlooked, actually, is Moment of Surrender as the closing song. It's a song that the band really, really like, and they played it live in a medley with Bad quite a few times in 2015. Has this wonderful closing lyric, which is, heading to the subway at the stations of the cross, I did not notice the strangers and they did not notice me. And that was kind of a song that's actually sung to the people going, you're leaving the venue, you're going out from the gig, you're moving into a throng of people, there are strangers all around you, they don't notice you, you don't notice them, you're lost in your own world. And it's a great song that I wish was played live more often, but it hasn't really found a space to fit in the band's current set list. and U2 always design their set lists around to create thematic constructions and links between songs. They're built on lyrical as opposed to musical elements. So it's a busy tour, has a lot of stuff that happens in it. I have shown you next to none of the memorabilia and bootleg stuff, but this is the first thing I'm going to show you. This is the t-shirt which they sold at the Cardiff Millennium Stadium on the 22nd of August 2009. I also have somewhere under here, I think it's here, the t-shirt which we bought at the Barcelona show. Again, Barcelona, Camp Nou. Every one of those designs from that year had the map of the venue on the back. You will also have noticed that I'm wearing a crew shirt, and I have two crew shirts from this tour, both of which I found in a thrift store in Birmingham a couple of years after the tour finished, because the band have a storage facility in Birmingham, and that's where the Pop Mart stuff is at the moment. And this is a t-shirt for the Paris show on the 18th of September 2010, the last time I saw the staging for 360. You can still see the 360 claw. It's currently at the Salt Lake Aquarium, I think, where it's recently been constructed, and is part of the aquarium there. You can visit it on Google Earth if you have a hankering for it. If you're in or near Salt Lake, you can go and see it, and that's how it works. So what I'm going to do, starting off, talk through I think some of the releases that surrounded the tour, both official and unofficial. This is the first bootleg CD from the tour, which is called In the Capital of Surrealism, which was recorded at the opening night of the 360 tour. It's an audience recording, although an in-ear monitor recording, which is considerably better, has surfaced of the second night, by the way. And this is called In the Capital of Surrealism because the band chose to launch the tour in Barcelona because the football season was out. They could do so, and also Barcelona is the place where there's an architect called Gaudi worked, and he has a lot of great buildings that are there, including the Sagrada Familia, which is this bonkers church that is absolutely enormous and continues to get bigger to this day. They've been building it for something like 120 years, which, by the way, when you look at it, is very, very similar in its architectural style to this claw here. So this is the first CD. It's an audience recording. By the way, I do not condone or support buying bootlegs. They are pretty much all available for nothing on the internet anyway, if you know where to look. This is the second of the bootleg CDs which I've got, which is North Star over Paris. Saw them in Paris at the Stade de France on September the 18th, 2010. And when we're moving into 2010, I'll pick up a couple of other things, but there's also a couple of other bootlegs which I do want to show you. These are, this one here is U2 YouTubed, which is taken from the Sheffield 2009 broadcast bootleg DVD, and this is taken from the Wembley Stadium 2009 radio broadcast of the show, where people have stitched together multi-camera footage using stuff that's been downloaded off YouTube, which, by the way, is a really nice and entertaining alternative to the officially released concert recordings. We also have, was a particularly keen, this here, which is a vinyl bootleg of the Wembley Stadium 2009 radio broadcast on purple vinyl. The pressing is appalling. It is not worth buying. Luckily, I didn't pay that much for it, but it is an appalling pressing, really hissy, and just generally badly done. Right, so 2010, the band, actually no, 2009, the band also did a European tour, which I've mentioned. I've already shown you bootlegs from Barcelona, Wembley and Sheffield. This is a Blu-ray of the Cardiff show using an in-ear monitor. This show is available free to watch on YouTube. It was my favourite show of the tour because they played Bad and Stay, and both of those songs are songs that I love from, they're easily in my YouTube top 10, and they didn't play them very often. I think Bad was played 13 times, Stay 14, 15 times throughout the course of the tour. So to get both of them in one night, I was really, really pleased. I remember I was talking to my brother, and when they played Stay, I said, I think they're going to play Bad tonight. I think they're going to play Bad. And the Welsh crowd, by the way, is fantastic. If you've ever been to gigs in Wales, you'll know generally Welsh gigs, the crowd are almost as good as Glasgow on a Saturday night. They're that good. The first official release from the tour, and this will be a surprise to you, is this, which is a American multi-disc DVD set which features all of the band's performance at a multi-artist concert at Madison Square Gardens on, I think, October 29th and 30th, 2009. So they took a night off from playing 360. They played a short-ish 45-minute set with guest appearances by Bruce Springsteen, will.i.am, the Black Eyed Peas, Mick Jagger, and no doubt some other people. Patti Smith and Bruce Springsteen, if I haven't already mentioned them. And they are on this show, by the way. I think they performed Gimme Shelter, which they've not done elsewhere. They performed Because the Night with Patti Smith. And they do, I think, a medley of Mysterious Ways and the Black Eyed Peas, Where Is the Love, which is on the bonus tracks because it's not particularly good. Again, this show is in full on YouTube, so you don't have to buy the Region 1 DVD like I did. If you want to not spend the money, I would recommend that because it's only a Region 1 DVD. You need to have a multi-region DVD player to watch it. And after that came the first of the big releases. This is the live Blu-ray 2 DVD 360 live at the Pasadena Rose Bowl box set from the penultimate show on the tour. I don't recall which date that was. It might have been October the 25th. So let's open the box, because you can't have a YouTube channel without an unboxing. And I wouldn't want to let you down now, would I? So the U2 360 live box set contains a multitude of things. It has some guitar picks from the 360 tour, probably not played on stage. It has a 7-inch single here, which I've shown you previously on the No Line on the Horizon, which is a double-sided 7-inch of the song Soon, which is not available anywhere else. It has a reproduction of, let's have a look, let's see what this is. So this is the Rose Bowl. It's a hardback book. It's very thin, by the way. Let's go and have a look and see what's in this book, because this box set probably cost around £50. You want to know, am I going to get my money's worth for it? Well, the answer is yes and no. So it's kind of got an adaptation of photographs, screen grabs, photos from the show, and some credits alongside this photograph here. And this photograph here later appeared on the cover of a 12-inch called Wide Awake in Europe, which was a very limited live EP. Released on Record Store Day in 2011, limited to 5,000 copies. It is one of only 3 official U2 releases I do not have because they didn't press enough copies, and it is shameful and embarrassing that the band didn't put out a CD version of it as a fan club gift, by the way. They really should have done it. Here's a 2010 tour program. I've already shown you one of these. I have 2 of these tour programs because I bought one at the show, and then I bought this one came in the box set. What else do we have in here? Well, we've got a poster, and to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of expensive paper goods. The thing that makes me move, makes me feel, is music. It is not pictures of stage designs. So lo and behold, here's a massive poster of the stage design, presumably a complete replica of the one that was blue tacked to the wall of Mark Fisher, the tour designer. And then we've got 3 discs here that are inside a poorly constructed kind of second box. So we've got the disc 1, which is the Rose Bowl concert, which was broadcast on YouTube. And the version of this that's on here is missing one song. This opening song of the show, Breathe, is not on the DVD. It's on as a bonus feature in considerably lower quality on the second disc and on the Blu-ray. And that's a bad idea, guys. Bad idea. And then there's the Blu-ray here. So you've got 3. And these, by the way, are all kind of like special designs. So that you don't. So if you buy the retail DVD or the retail Blu-ray, they don't come in these boxes. They come in different boxes with different sleeve art. you're the kind of person that needs to buy sleeve art for absolutely everything. And then the last thing that you've got is you've got some lithographs here, or some small printed postcards of various. There's Bono at work, there's Larry at work, there's Bono and the Edge at work, there's Adam having another day at the office, there's the stadium, the stage, and the now questionable politician Aung San Suu Kyi, I believe. And here is the booklet that comes in the Blu-ray edition of it, the standard retail Blu-ray edition. But when I liberated myself of the burdens of ownership of the standard Blu-ray edition when I bought the fancy version, I decided to keep the booklet. Don't tell anyone, no one's ever complained about that. So we're going to put all of these back in. Let's see how long that's going to take. Longer than it probably should. The Rose Bowl DVD release is okay. It's the least satisfactory to me of the of the home video releases from the band's tour, because it focuses on an editing style that's very quick, very choppy, moves a lot, and seems far more interested in generating excitement than in showing you the spectacle. So what has actually become is that the spectacle, the thing that you were watching, and bearing in mind that, you know, the design of the stage and the tour and everything was substantial, was going to be the thing that you were going to be focused on. Instead, most of the video focuses on things that you wouldn't see if you actually saw the show. So it focuses on the band's hands, fingers, Bono, someone in the crowd losing their shit to one of their favourite songs, that kind of thing. So it's poorly edited because it kind of like distracts attention away from what the band actually invested all that money in, which is the claw. So that brings the 2009 tour to a close, and the band took 6 months off after that. One of the band became a father, and the band then were due to start rehearsing in May 2010 with the aim to go into stadiums in America for a third leg in June 2010. That didn't happen. Bono fell off the stage during rehearsals. He needed some surgery. He lost, I think, some use of part of his arm and his foot, and he was put together looking a bit like the $6 million man. Although knowing U2's budget, it was probably the $60 million man. And bearing in mind that the tour grossed somewhere over $700 million, you know, that's a pretty expensive mistake to make. So they cancelled the shows, including cancelling their planned appearance at the Glastonbury Festival in the summer of 2010. And used the time to write and record some new material before starting the tour again in Turin in August 2010, when Bono was more closely to being fully recovered. Now, the 2010 shows were very, very different to the 2009 ones. The band weren't promoting the 360 tour as such. The No Line on the Horizon album had come out 18 months previous. They weren't promoting the album anymore. That album was dead. It was over. It was gone. And then, you know, that album hadn't had a big hit single against it. So there wasn't really any way in which the band could present, here's a song from the new album, because the new album was a year and a half old. Not that stops Metallica, by the way, but, you know, Metallica are a very different beast. And so 2010 was probably more around cementing the band's live reputation as a fearsome live act. And obviously U2's reputation as a live act is justly deserved as being really, really bloody brilliant, because they are. And a huge chunk of what makes U2 great live is not just U2, but the audience response to it. So that the way that an audience responds to U2 is often as entertaining as the band themselves, if not more so. And so there was a number of things which the band did in 2010. So I was just looking around for my props, going, where are they? Because I'm going to need to bring them up. So 2010 saw the first release was, as previously mentioned, Artificial Horizon. This pretty good but not amazing remix album, which was part of the fan club version. That there is the vinyl edition. This is the CD edition that was distributed if you were a member of the fan club. And then the next thing after 2010 was the live shows, and so the band started playing for the first time unreleased songs. In many cases, there are 6 or 7 songs the band played live which still haven't come out. So in 2010, if you saw them, there was a good chance you would see an instrumental song called Return of the Stingray Guitar. which has now turned into a song called Lucifer's Hands, which is on the Songs of Innocence album, a song called Mercy, which was leaked during the 2004 era and has been hailed as a lost classic. The band went in, rewrote it, changed some parts and started playing it live in 2010. There's a song called Every Breaking Wave. They played an early version of Every Breaking Wave on the 2010 tour. Although they re-recorded it, wrote a new bridge, and then put it out on the Songs of Innocence album. They played a song called North Star, which is a lovely, delicate acoustic ballad, which is dedicated to, I think, a pastor in the band now in Ireland who died. North Star hasn't yet been released, although 30 seconds of a finished and glorious sounding, by the way, glorious sounding studio recording does appear in one scene in, I think, the 2011 film Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Might be over a shot of an actress's bottom. It's a great song. It should come out, and I don't know what on earth that song is doing in Transformers movies, because the Transformers movies, as directed by Michael Bay, thumbs down from Siskel and Ebert, by the way. The next thing that happened is that there's another few songs that the band played live a number of times. They played a song called Glastonbury that they had written with the aim of putting it and playing it at the Glastonbury Festival, which later turned into parts of Volcano and parts of American Soul. I think they played Glastonbury around 7 or 8 times. They played a song called Boy Falls from the Sky once in Portugal. And Boy Falls from the Sky is a really, really good song. The drawback of Boy Falls from the Sky is that it is released, but not on a U2 album. It is released on the soundtrack to this absolutely terrible stage play, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, that Bono and The Edge scored in 2011. I'm sorry I bought it. Although Edge or Bono appear on almost every track on this album, it's terrible. It has no redeeming features whatsoever. Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark is just crap. There is, as you can see here, song 2, Boy Falls from the Sky, is on there. There's a song called Rise Above that's okay. There's a song called Sinistero, which is The Edge doing, spooky, weird instrumental stuff. But Boy Falls from the Sky is a good U2 song that would have made a great B-side and deserves better than being stuck in a re-recorded form by tired session musicians on the soundtrack to a Spider-Man musical. Can't muck about. Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark is awful, and don't buy it. It's just a complete waste of time and energy. And money. And by the way, it had something like 182 test performances before it officially premiered. If I had to do something 182 times before I was felt confident enough to say that I was going to go public with something, I'd probably give up, to be honest. So 2010, as a touring period, came to the end, and then the band went into 2011, and they started, having just finished an Australian stadium tour in 2010, in 2011 they played South America quite a lot of times. They played Mexico, they played South Africa, I think they played Johannesburg and Cape Town, and then they went into America for that long delayed final leg of the stadium tour. And just going to kind of throw a few things out at you. 2011, this is a bootleg CD of the in-ear monitor recording of the Mexico show in 2011, bootleg CD. And also they played Glastonbury. They got round to Glastonbury at last, which was broadcast on British television. Here's a bootleg Blu-ray of that, which you can buy, which effectively works as the second live film from the tour. Has a very different set list. So at this point, only Get On Your Boots, Magnificent, Moment of Surrender, Crazy Tonight were regulars on the stadium leg. For this show, for example, I think Magnificent and Crazy Tonight aren't in here, so you get an hour into the show before you get anything off the most recent album, which is Get On Your Boots. And they don't end with Moment of Surrender. They end with one of the rare performances of Out of Control, which they only played 7 times on that tour. This is a really good show, broadcast on television, professionally shot, professionally mixed, well worth picking up. Doesn't have the claw in it, so that the band it doesn't feel necessarily like a 2011 360 show at all. Worth getting, although it was very unpopular at the time, and Twitter was very, very ablaze. There was a tax scandal around U2 not paying their taxes correctly, although they always paid their taxes legally. They're a multinational organisation, and sometimes you need to be structured in such a way that reflects the fact that you operate in, up to, let's think, 38 countries in any given year, with up to 200 employees who have many, many nationalities. It's really difficult to manage, and you really need people that are on top of things to do it. And as I've mentioned in the previous New Order episodes, if you don't have people that are good at it, it generally tends to kill the band and cost them a lot of money. So 2011 saw a couple of other things that happened. The main one, from a fan perspective, is this: U2's, the 2011 fan club gift. This is the worst fan club gift that the band have ever done. It is a compilation of duets and performances with other artists, including but not limited to hit singles, live tracks, Frankenstein remixes of Where the Streets Have No Name live at the Rose Bowl with a Soweto Gospel Choir overdubbed over it, a single with Mary J. Blige, a Daniel Lanois one, where When Love Comes to Town with B.B. King, which by the way has only been on the gazillion selling Rattle and Hum album, and I think Johnny Cash is probably on here as well with the Wanderer, again on the gazillion selling Zero per album. This is a pointless release. It's, god damn it, it's like carpet bombing the fan base with stuff they don't need and don't want, and it really needs to be better curated, and the tracks need to be better selected. And 2011, by the way, what was the thing that was going to get you to stay in the fan club? Because 2011, the band didn't announce any more touring whatsoever. And so one of the things that why I'm a fan club member of U2 is because it allows me great ticket choices for live shows. Yeah, that's pretty much the big pull for me. And the CD and everything else that goes with it is great, but bearing in mind that a U2 fan club membership probably costs £30 a year, you'd pay probably £30 in excess ticket costs to get better, more expensive tickets if you were a member of Joe Public. So that's why I do it. They didn't have the lure of being a fan club member because they weren't touring in 2012. So the best thing to do was to give you a CD of duets, including many tracks which we've already got on singles and million-selling albums. Bad idea, guys. Thumbs down from Siskel and Ebert there. And so 2012 fan club gift was considerably better. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this, the 360 tour gave us 2 live albums. This is the first one of the 2. It's called U22, and it's a 22 track collection of live tracks from the tour. The set list, all 46 songs that were played on the tour, apart from the new material, was listed on the band's site. The top 22 scoring numbers went onto this album, and it's pretty crazy when you think about it in that respect, because many songs which the band hadn't performed or hadn't released, such as Return of the Stingray Guitar, were on here, and yet people chose to have Mysterious Ways for the 7th time, as opposed to a song that had never been released before. Guys, what are you playing at? Seriously, bad form. And U22 is pretty good. It's worth getting, but don't pay a huge amount of money for it. It's a double CD in a 12-inch book pack, and it's the equivalent, in my opinion. It's the first contemporary live audio release that the band have made. So all the other audio releases the band have stuck out through the fan club have always been many years after the respective tour. This is the 2013 fan club release. It's called From the Ground Up. Now, From the Ground Up comes in a multitude of editions. This is the one to get if you get the chance. It's the U2 fan club edition that contains some lithographs. So let's have a look at those. Again, following on from the Rose Bowl box set. So it's a hardback book, special fan club edition. featuring photographs of various band members having another day at work in there. It's got some bookmarks which are down here. I've dropped them. So here they are. In case you've got 4 people reading from the ground up at the same time, you've got 4 bookmarks. You've got a hardback book, which is 254 pages. Really great read, by the way. You can get the edition without the CD for about £1 if you know where to look. Presumably places like Pound Land. And then on the fan club edition, there is a CD called From the Ground Up, which is the Edges picks from the 360 tour, not including any songs which had previously been on the U22 release. And so the songs that are on here are Breathe, I Will Follow, Get On Your Boots, New Year's Day, Electrical Storm, Stuck in a Moment, Your Blue Room. They played a Passenger song on the tour. Vertigo, I Know I'll Go Crazy If I Don't Go Crazy Tonight, another version of that. Sunday Bloody Sunday. Scarlet, which the band had played for the first time since 1981 on this tour. And on 1981 they only played it in a radio session, they didn't play it live. So imagine bringing back a 30-year album track that you've never played live onto your stadium tour. It'd be like in 2009 if The Cure suddenly said, okay guys, we're going to play Splintered in Your Head. Well, Splintered in Her Head, but you know what I mean. In a little while, Miss Sarajevo, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. And this, by the way, is a great book. It's absolutely full of beautiful photography and really, really interesting. Kind of like photographs of stage designs and things like that. Strongly recommend getting it. If you're the kind of person that loves reading about touring, bands' live shows, why they put set lists together, how many babies and marriages happened as a result between members of the crew, this is the book for you. And if you can get the version with the CD and it's not staggeringly expensive, do pick it up. It's the best version to get. So the 360 tour, in my opinion, was up to that point in the band's history certainly my favourite U2 tour, for a number of reasons. It was the longest, it was the biggest, it was the first time that the band had toured in a long time on the back of a slightly weird album, because No Line on the Horizon is, let's not make no bones about it, it's a weird record. Not everybody will like it. And also it had a very, very fluid set of set lists. So, you know, if you saw them in 2009, 2010, 2011, the set lists would probably have changed by a third between shows. The back half of the show would mostly be the same, but you still might get Scarlet in there. You might get Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me instead of Ultraviolet. You might get Out of Control or 40 or something like that to end the show instead of Moments of Surrender. But you know, the first half of the show was very fluid and changed frequently. And it, you know, the set was still constructed as a narrative. It still touched through a number of themes, and the songs were put together with thematic links between them. You know, the opening part of the last leg of 360 in America and Mexico was 4 or 5 Acton Baby songs in a row, doing a mini Zoo TV set, which they later then reprised in 2018 for the Experience of Innocence show. And by the looks of it, because I didn't go to any of the shows on that length of the tour, absolutely brilliant. U2's reputation as a great live band is one that has elevated them beyond, I think, some of their contemporaries. And the fact that on record they've always been moving towards and exploring new areas, even if it's not necessarily been areas people have wanted to go into. And then following that up with live shows that have always been at the forefront of both technology and commerce. It was one of the biggest tours in the world. As I said, so over 700 million in ticket sales, over 7.2 million people saw that tour. You know, more people saw that tour than live in many countries. And I think if you put the whole population of London and took them all to see one show, it would have been that show, because the population of London is about the same. It's probably a little less now. But that's the 360 tour, the Live at the Rose Bowl, DVD and Blu-ray, the albums From the Ground Up and U22 and Jaws and Artificial Horizon and the Madison Square Garden Rock and Roll Hall of Fame DVD. It was a busy Yeah, and it was a great time to be a U2 fan. The online community had coalesced. And certainly, I made a number of friendships during that tour that I'm very happy to have, and happy to still have. And I've got lots of glorious memories associated with that tour. And what is life if it is not worth creating great memories for? What is the point of music if it doesn't move you and if it doesn't make you happy and it doesn't help you see the world in a different way? And what is the point of anything if you don't enjoy it, if you don't come out of that and you think it's worth it? I spent a lot of money and I spent a lot of time. I made a lot of sacrifices to go on that tour, and it was worth it. And it was brilliant. And yes, I miss gigs. I miss them like I've had a bit of my leg chopped off. But all those will come back, and we will all be together again. That brings this to a close. Um, Take care of yourselves and each other. As Jerry Springer always says, don't be a dick in the comments. I will see you again soon, some other time. Thank you and goodbye.